Voice of the Sea, learning from experts across the ocean.
Welcome to Voice of the Sea. In this episode, we explore how Palau's endangered animals are faring amidst a changing ecosystem and local pressures. We'll learn about the mysterious sea mammal, the dugong, and Palau's endangered shorebirds.
First, we go birding with Alan Olson and Milong Emerdong. They're researchers from the Palau National Museum. Alan is going to show me the ropes at birding, how to track these elusive creatures, and he'll also teach me a little about the local birds, like the Rufus Night-heron and its behaviors. I wanted to know how to become a bird wizard, so I asked Alan and Milong how they came to be professional bird researchers.
What made you get interested in studying birds, Alan?
Since I was a little kid, I have my college is entomology.
Oh, really?
Degrees in entomology, but I've always been a nature person since I was a little kid. So I grew up in Arizona. A lot of birds in Arizona. Lots of good birds in Arizona. And I've been bird watching since I was a little tiny guy. And Palau's got birds, so we bird. We bird in Palau just like I do every place else. And then I got associated with the museum, and we started this bird program. So we're doing a national bird program for the Republic of Palau. It's through the Office of the President. So it's going to go on forever. We'll be counting birds as long as we have material here to count with. As long as the birds are out there, we're going to be counting them. We're a bird SWAT team. If somebody calls up on the phone and say, I saw a blue something or other, and we go, okay, we jump in the truck and we go out and try to find it and figure out what it is. We keep it pretty simple. For counting the birds, of course, we have binoculars. That's primary piece of equipment. And a spotting scope for the birds that are farther away.
Is that like a telescope?
Yeah, it's higher power magnification. The other things we need, we have a digital thermometer and compass, and GPS, of course, and a counter. You absolutely need to count.
Why? Why do you need a tool like that?
Well, we're counting birds as indicators of the health of the beach and the tidal flats. So rather than keep it all in our heads, we click it on digital counters, our main species, and then the others we write down.
So each of these buttons would represent a different species? Right,
each one represents a different principal species. The red one is Rufus Night-heron. The white one is the eastern or Pacific reef heron. The blue one is the collared kingfisher, which we find out there, and the yellow one is the little-pied cormorant. And the holy grail of science is, whenever you can, count. Because without the numbers, you can't really predict anything, you can't really make any models, you can't even understand what's going on unless you have the numbers that you can look at over a period of time. So counting is part of birding. Now today, we saw 23 Rufus Night-herons, 2 reef herons, 9 cormorants, 4 kingfishers, and then 4 black noddies, which are the blackbirds with the white head flying around there. We saw 5 whimbrels, a sandpiper, a golden plover. These are migratory birds. We count them at low tide because that's when their food cafeteria is open. Okay? We basically have 3 main indicators. The night heron is a wading bird. It wades in shallow water and sandy areas. The reef heron will wade in deeper water up to its knees and rocky areas. It likes rocks. And then the cormorant is a diving bird. So we cover the shallow water, the little deeper water, and the very deep water with the 3 different birds. So if there's fish and crabs and it's a healthy environment, there's going to be lots of birds here eating. If there's no food here, no crabs, no fish, no life, the birds won't come. They'll go somewhere else.
So the measurement of the birds gives you an idea of the other wildlife, the other organisms?
Exactly. It's an index of the total biodiversity out there. Over the years, you get to see trends, because we do this every single month with our we have a national program for monitoring forest and coastal birds. So if we see a downward slope on our trend, then we'll say maybe there's something happening. If it's a steady or an upward, we'll say this is good, it's a healthy environment. And then the number of birds is also slightly dependent on how low the tide goes and how much area is exposed. So we've seen that when there's a minus tide, there's more birds than when there's a plus tide.
Sure.
And all that goes into the database, and we analyze it, and we do charts and graphs and reports and scientific publications, things like that, and State of the Birds report, which I gave you a copy of.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Let's go take a look at some birds.
Let's see if we can find some birds.
And this is one of your more favorite places to come?
This is a pretty place to come, yeah. This is one of the prettiest places we come to. This is a nice long beach, and we got a lot of birds going on out here. Let's see if we can find one of these guys.
Do you have a certain area that you search between?
All, as far as we can see, yeah. We go as far as we can see. Here you can see, standing on with these wings spread out, that's the cormorant, blackbird.
Yeah.
And on the post, you can see the kingfisher, the little bluebird on,
Yep.
on the post.
Oh, there's another one just flew in.
Yeah, that's the Rufus Night-heron. That's our main one. You see the one that just flew in? He's the farthest one. That's a full-grown adult. Brown bird.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep.
And then in front of him is kind of a mottled bird. That's the juvenile.
They're pretty large.
Yeah, the bird is about 3 foot tall. It's a good-sized bird.
How much do they weigh?
Yeah, maybe about, not too much, 6-7 pounds. They're mostly feather. A lot of feather and skinny legs and skinny neck.
Oh, wow. Their eyes are beautiful, too.
It's a beautiful bird. And when they come into full breeding plumage, the male's eye will turn a little bit reddish, almost like they didn't get enough sleep the night before or something, and their feet will turn slightly pink. And that means they're really ready to start mating and breeding and having a nest. And they will eat almost anything out there. We've seen them eat crabs, we've seen them eat fairly large, if there's fish that they can get to, like in the really shallow parts, they'll eat the fish. All the invertebrates, including some pretty large animals. Anything they can swallow, they'll take on. They are also known to be nest robbers. These birds, the Rufus night-heron is called a night-heron because it's also active at night. And sometimes at night they will raid nests of other birds, and including domestic chickens. Occasionally they'll get into the chicken nest and take a baby chicken or an egg. So they are definitely all-around predators. They'll prey on almost anything that moves that they can overpower. And being a big bird like that, they can overpower most things around here.
Yeah, they're quite a bit larger than I expected to see.
Yeah, Yalop's watching people. He's people watching.
10? I want to see him catch. Oh, there he goes.
To the edge of the reef.
Well, geez, I don't know, take about 20 minutes to walk out there. How far is that? It's fairly far out. You can judge by the size of the people. This guy's about halfway out, and he's looking pretty small already.
Alan, oh, he got something.
What did he get? Yeah, he did, yeah.
I can't tell. It was pretty small, I think.
Yeah, but he did, yeah, he got something. They'll take anything. Anything they can catch.
Oh yeah, he's all happy with himself.
He's got it. Now, the cormorant you saw was holding its wings out.
Yeah.
He's drying off. He was diving before. And so he's trying to dry his wings off in the breeze before he takes off, because their feathers get wet when they do a lot of
And
diving.
then they can't fly as well.
Right, they can't fly as well. So he's trying to dry off before he flies, before he takes another dive, or before he flies back to the forest.
The Curriculum Research and Development Group in the College of Education at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. CRDG's training roots go back over 40 years. through professional development programs, curriculum workshops, research on teaching methodology, individualized school and district training, and so much more. The Curriculum Research and Development Group, Improving Schools, Improving Education. CRDG.
Welcome back to Voice of the Sea. We're in Palau studying seabirds with Alan Olson and Malong Eberdong, local bird experts.
He's as big a birder as I am, and he's as passionate about it as I am, and he knows probably as much, if not more, than anybody else in Palau about the birds here.
So the information that you guys are collecting through your bird surveys, do you give that back to the people here who live in Palau and help them to learn about the birds too?
Yeah, and even we have this special bird like a pigeon, imperial pigeon, that's really special to Palau and Horsetail. And for doing this survey, and we try to convince our Palauans that please don't touch them, they're about to extinct.
I imagine that there are probably many kids in Palau that would like to grow up and study birds as well.
Yeah.
How would what could you say to them, like, for them to learn or to know to?
Well, I think Yalab's, at PCS, Yalab's always, he's the one to go around this elementary school in Palau, even high school and college, Palau Community College, so I think he's the one to, so we always talk to him, and we rely him for doing the school part.
We don't record things unless we both agree on the identification. And so some of the common ones, of course, we say, oh yeah, and we scan and we say this is it. But if I see an unusual bird, he has to see it and agree with the identification before we write it down in record. Otherwise it goes down as mystery bird. And we have a few mystery birds where we either don't know or we can't agree because it'll be too far away or it's in the water. You know, sometimes that happens.
Next, we headed to the Etpusong Museum in Koror, Palau, to learn about the endangered sea mammal, the dugong. Dugongs are considered vulnerable to extinction on a global scale, and the Palau dugong population, which is the most isolated in the world, is considered critically endangered.
Thank you so much for having me here at the museum.
Nice to meet you.
I understand that you're doing a campaign for helping to protect Palau's dugongs.
The end of 2009 is the first time I actually got to see a dugong myself after diving here for 20-some years. And when I started looking up information about them, I found out the next year was supposed to be the year of the dugong, but there was no program for Palau. Nobody was going to do anything on it, so that's why we decided to do the campaign in 2010. And it's still going on now.
Can you tell me a little bit what's special about the dugong?
They're very rare here. It's one of the smallest, most isolated populations in the whole world here in Palau. And the Japan population and the Palau population are the most endangered in the world because they're still being hunted, still being eaten here, even though it's illegal. And it's kept very low profile, so a lot of people didn't know about it. So our main thing was to bring that out in the open and let people know, like, these animals are still being eaten, and if you keep doing this, they're not going to be around much longer.
Can you tell me a little bit about the animal itself?
It sort of looks like a manatee, but it's more a saltwater animal. It doesn't stay around the rivers like the manatees. The tail is like a whale instead of round like a manatee, and they're more smooth and more fast in the water.
So they're a marine mammal?
They're a marine mammal, but they stay close to shore in the seagrass beds. Mostly that's what they feed on, is seagrass. And they like murky water, so they're quite difficult to find. That's why a lot of people are not familiar with them.
How many dugongs do you know are here in Palau? Do you have any estimate of the population size?
There's definitely less than 500 animals. Between 200 and 300 is the estimate, but you can't tag them. They get stressed out really easily, so you might actually do more damage than good if you try that. So our best way to protect them is to stop the local poaching and preserve their habitats, the seagrass beds.
Exploring Our Fluid Earth is the dynamic curriculum developed by the University of Hawaii's Curriculum Research and Development Group. The award-winning Fluid Earth and Living Ocean textbooks are now interactive and online, new activities, updated content, and a teacher community. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is now freely available. Find out more at exploringourfluidearth.org. Welcome back to Voice of the Sea.
Do you know how the dugong might be important in the health of Palau's ecosystem?
If you see the feeding trails from the air, we have these seagrass beds, which you can clearly see from a helicopter. And we observed a school of over 40 dugongs that aggregated together to start feeding. And it's like bulldozers going through those seagrass beds. So they're actually like farmers. They don't just eat the leaves, they pull out the seagrass by the roots and they stir up the whole area. And then they won't go back and feed there again. They'll leave the area alone for a couple of years sometimes and move somewhere else and come back. So they give the seagrass a chance to grow back. So they're actually sort of like, farming these seagrass beds.
Maybe you can tell me some of the most exciting or surprising things that you've learned about the dugong during the time you've spent working with them.
Just seeing one, the first time I was able to snorkel with one, they're very shy and they were sleeping on the bottom. There were 3 of them, a mom with a calf and a bigger juvenile, like a teenager.
So the juveniles hang out with the mothers. There's some element of parental care.
Very much so. They're like people, actually. They can be 70 years old. They have one baby usually every 3-4 years, and the baby stays with the mom at least 2 years. They ride on the shoulder, actually, so when you see that, it's really cute.
I know that you've made a brochure to teach about the dugong. What kind of information is in your pamphlet?
It's sort of a mix. It's a little bit of awareness, a little bit of the poaching information, some of the press releases we did to show that this is still an ongoing problem, even though people don't talk about it. And it's not a traditional problem. It's not the chiefs or the traditional way of hunting. That's another interesting thing I found out during the campaign, because that's the first thing that they blame it on, the poachers, but that's not really true. They're being paid by people to go out and hunt these animals, and they can bring up to $2,500 a dugong.
And what do they do with them once they've hunted it?
They serve it for special occasions, and it's sort of like a show-off type thing, like they can get away with it. But the traditional use, it would be served during a feast if a new chief was selected. And that has been replaced by another dish they make, which I'll show you. It's on the display. It's made out of little nuts cooked with honey and sugar, and they make it in the shape of a dugong. So it's like a dessert. And they've been doing that. The 2 highest chiefs we have right now, the traditional chiefs, neither one of them eats dugong or supports it.
For people who are maybe interested in helping to protect the dugong, where would you might send them for information?
Probably here. They can always contact me. We have a website for the museum.
And as that younger generation grows up, that maybe the poaching problem will decline?
Yeah, it's mostly education, and the young generation gets it. They understand the conservation efforts, and you can see from the reaction of the kids, they're interested to see a dugong. And after our essay and drawing contest, the winners were able to go up in the helicopter and actually see dugongs. That was our prize. So I wish we could do more like that. My father-in-law, he was president of Palau from 88 to 92. He passed away already, but he donated the land for this building, and he wanted to do a museum, but unfortunately before we were able to open, he passed away. But so we dedicated the building to him.
And how long has the museum been open?
Since 98. So part of the campaign was we have a wood carver here that works for the museum. So we actually did one twice the size of this, which is at the president's office. So this is a smaller one. Another one was donated to Taiwan for their 100-year anniversary. It was Palau's present to Taiwan. So the president's been helping us sort of spread the word on the dugongs.
How big is this carving in relation to adult dugong?
It's about life size.
And then this is the way that the baby would actually ride on the back of the mother?
Yeah. So this is the dessert that traditionally they would serve. So it's a local almond nut that they boil with sugar and honey, and it's served like this to the chiefs.
And this is in place of now actually catching and serving dugong meat?
Well, they would do both, but now they usually only do this because the dugongs are difficult and it's illegal to catch them. Oh yeah, that's where you can see the baby was looking up at the helicopter. That's actually taken from a helicopter through the water. It was a really clear day. We have a new project we just started, which is manta rays. I don't know if you heard about that. We ID'd about 170 so far in the last year. So we're starting on that, and I can show you that upstairs.
And you mentioned that you're now starting a project with the manta rays?
We've started on the manta rays. That's sort of a tourism issue because we have one site that's a known cleaning, feeding, and birthing site for manta rays. And the tourism pressure is getting crazy right now. There's over 200 people in the water there every day now.
Oh my goodness.
So we're chasing them away. We've identified over 170 here in Palau, manta rays, because they're very easy to ID by their bellies.
Looking at the individual marks that they have.
Yeah, taking photographs of the bellies and then comparing them. We know we probably have hundreds more because that's only from 4 or 5 different sites, and only 2 of those sites are known dive sites. So we're trying to find more sites so we can kind of diversify people away from that one site because it's a very important site because they're giving birth there. We see newborns there every year, and right now they're slowly moving away. It's just too many people. It's amazing actually that Palau is a very small area, but from comparing it, we probably have more manta rays here than Yap or Hawaii combined, which we never knew because nobody knew where to look for them basically. So
when you said 170 or so, I was shocked at that number. I expected you to say 50 or 60, but it's a lot.
And that's just 1 year and two people taking pictures. It's one lady that lives on a yacht and myself. So that's, you know, if we have more people and the time-lapse cameras, I think we probably have a lot more than we think.
And understand a little bit more about where they go and their use
that's
of
the key
habitat.
thing. They go way out of the reef, so the only time you get to see them is when they come in to feed. Once or twice a year, we usually get dead whales that float into the reef. Either sperms or these, and they're usually killed by orcas. And then we have tiger sharks that follow them into the reef and start feeding on them. That was actually this whale that you see on the photos.
Wow.
Turn your love of the ocean into a lifelong career. Join NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as we unlock the secrets in the deep oceans, track rapidly moving storms, model climate trends, protect and preserve our marine resources, and so much more. It's all in a day's work at NOAA. Find a career that makes a world of difference, enriching life through science, service, and stewardship. NOAA. The University of Hawaii's Sea Grant College program, focused on Hawaii's coasts and its communities through sustainable development, safe seafood supply, sustainable coastal tourism, hazard resilience, and healthy coastal ecosystems. Hawaii's Sea Grant.
Cozy Island Earth, bringing together university, government, research, and community partners to improve science education and ocean stewardship in Hawaii.